the texture of your hair? Who taught you to hate the color of your skin to such extent that you bleach to get like the white man? Who taught you to hate the shape of your nose and the shape of your lips? Who taught you to hate yourself from the top of your head to the soles of your feet? Who taught you to hate your own kind? Who taught you to hate the race that you belong to?
Welcome again to Straight Talk. My name is Ahmad Shakaraki. And on Straight Talk, we did the political, social, and economics here in Michigan, the U.S., and abroad. Now, joining me tonight,
Dennis Burnside.
All right, we've got a lot to cover, but you were saying something about this, what was it, CPAC, something that Republican was doing?
The Republicans had their annual meeting. Something's been going on that I've been aware of since the time of Ronald Reagan's first campaign in '79, and it's been an annual event where the conservative party, the conservative movement within the Republican Party, because at one time the Republican Party also had moderates like your Rockefellers and people today that would be Democrats who were within the party. So CPAC was a way to differentiate an ideology within the Republican Party that was doggedly conservative. And Reagan was the first one that I remember, and it could have existed before then, but I'm not interested in digging into the history of CPAC. But this weekend they had it, and it was notable for a couple of different things. One is that it was sparsely attended. There are probably as many empty seats in there as occupied seats. And the other interesting thing about the meeting was, outside of the appearance of Nikki Haley, there seemed to be no willingness of any Republican to attend that meeting who was in or intends to be in competition with Trump. You saw none of the potential candidates for the Republican nomination next year at their convention outside of Nikki Haley. The most notable potential candidate who wasn't there was Ron DeSantis.
Right.
And Ron DeSantis seems to be running on a platform that says, I'm just as retrograde as Trump. I'm just as arch conservative as Trump, but I'm younger and I'm smarter.
Yeah.
And vote for me to carry on the ideology. And I think he may be even worse, because the man's no intellectual at all. And, people are impressed by the fact that he went to Harvard and Yale Law School, but I listen to the man speak and I read his writing. He's just not there intellectually, but he knows where the buttons are and which ones to push, and what he's doing in Florida with legislation there leads me to believe that that's a dress rehearsal for what he'd want to do as president of the United States if he's ever elected. Yeah.
And the thing is, though, is that out of Florida and, maybe Florida, Georgia, and Alabama, Mississippi, I don't think that stuff he's talking will go any further. About, he done so many things, and he signed something last week. I forget what we signed last week,
Well, he signed into laws that are attempting to limit or regulate what can be uttered in public spaces, like public schools. Yeah. He's gone beyond banning books, which is what his initial efforts were, to call anything that isn't conservative, Christo-nationalist thought as woke. Yeah. And you can't have these. So he's outlawed books like a biography of Jackie Robinson. Yeah. All the way through books by black intellectuals like Du Bois, and poetry by Nikki Giovanni. Those things he's banned from Florida public schools, which is identical, not similar, identical to the path that the Nazis took in Nazi Germany. This is book burning at its finest. This is government overreach from the people that tell you they want to get government off your back. Now, what he did recently was pass a law that said that certain themes or topics can't be discussed. So First Amendment be damned. It's always funny how these people call themselves patriots and arch conservatives and constitutional adherents, and they fetishize it. But when the Constitution disagrees with the path they want to follow, then the Constitution's irrelevant and not so loyal to it anymore. And DeSantis is a good example of that. So when you had him eschew attendance at CPAC this past weekend, I think it's more of a tactic in a upcoming battle he's going to have with Trump, where he wants to keep his powder dry, keep his cards close, and until such time as he needs to confront Trump, he will continue to hold back and not fire on Trump. Meanwhile, Trump's calling him Ron DeSanctimonious, and I think the funniest one I heard from him on DeSantis, he called him meatball, which cracked me up because he kind of looks like a meatball. But DeSantis didn't go to CPAC because I think he's being strategic about it. But it was the same old recycled memes. You know, you had the pillow guy, Mike Lindell, and others there, and they're talking about what woke is. They don't even know. You know, you can tell by the word being used the way it is, woke, that it comes from African American lexicon. But they have no idea what it means within the culture, within African Americans like you and me. They have a whole different definition, and it seems to slide around and fit into any crevice like mucus when they need something to fill it up to establish the fact that they don't like it. So for them, woke is anything that a Christo nationalist may or may not object to. That's what woke is to them.
You know, that's one of the reasons I can't, you know, it just angers me and everything to see blacks out here call themselves Republicans, because what white Republicans think and black Republicans think is totally different. But black Republicans, they're gonna be out here talking, I'm a Republican, and don't even know what it means.
I don't see black Republicans being much different than lower middle class, working class white Americans. They're no different in my estimation with respect to what the Republican Party means to them. The Republican Party has no respect at all for working class whites. None. They don't regard. They don't write legislation for them. They don't advocate for them. They patronize them, and they give them speeches and writings that are redolent with misogyny and racism and religious dogma. And it attracts these people, and they get tears in their eyes, and they fly the flag, and they talk about the good old USA. Meanwhile, when these people in the House, the Senate, and the executive office legislate and write bills, they write nothing that has anything to do with their lives. A good example is the train derailment that we had in East Palestine, Ohio, which is southeast of Cleveland, about a month ago now. Now, this train derailment, which had toxic chemicals burn into the air and spill onto the ground to the point that it was killing wildlife by the thousands, especially the fish, and they found residue of those chemicals as far away as Cincinnati, Ohio, which is, by my estimation, 250 miles away. So this damage that was done was caused, and if it wasn't caused, it was at least exacerbated by the removal of safety equipment that was mandated under the Obama administration, which made trains safer because it improved the braking systems on there. We saw a video of this train just before it derailed going down the track when they were a few miles from the accident, and we could see that the wheels were on fire. And when they went to brake them, of course, they failed, and you had the derailment, and now you've got an area where people cannot live anymore. Now, maybe it was an act of God, but I think it was more of a mechanical issue. And but for the fact Yeah, Donald Trump's administration removed that requirement from the NTSB and said that you have to have these trains on commercial grade trains, these brakes rather. The accident wouldn't have happened,
Right.
and if it had have happened, it wouldn't have been that bad. But so here you are. These people have seen their property go down to zero.
Yeah.
Absolutely
Yeah.
worthless. They have real danger in falling into poor health. But Trump came out there about 2 weeks after, and they swamped him. They loved that man. They thanked him. They said, "We wish you were back in office. This wouldn't have happened." Now, if they did any reading at all, they would know it's the opposite effect. That, but for Trump, it wouldn't have happened. Trump caused it to happen, and they still go after this guy. So this is a long way of me answering your question about black Republicans. I see black Republicans in the same way. They adhere to a party that doesn't respect them, doesn't regard them as fully human, could give a damn about their children or their parents, about their futures. But you see people like Diamond and Silk and Herschel Walker and all these others who come forward and they say, "This is the horse that I want to ride on." Now, let's be honest about it. When you're talking about Herschel Walker and Diamond and the late Silk, or maybe Silk and the late Diamond, I don't know, I can't remember which one passed, but they're in it for the grift. They're in it for the money. But there are plenty of African Americans who look at that and they watch Fox News at night and they say, what's Joe Biden up to? Old creepy Joe, and they inhale and integrate these memes into their understanding of politics, and can't see that the Republican Party could not care less about your black behind.
Right.
In fact, they resent that you're here.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I was saying, is that they are over here, and Republicans don't care anything about them at all. That's what I'm saying, is that,
except for the fact that they can, invite one of them over to the cookout and say, "See, I like coloreds too." Or they can point down the hall and say, "See, Rastus, he voted for him. If you were just like a good, decent American like him, you could see what we're talking about." So they like the ones that they can use. They don't want too many of them.
No.
Because you get too many black people in one place and they start wondering what we're up to and why we're really there, what the scheme is. But, if they can pepper their rallies and their speeches with a few black faces in strategic places right behind the speaker, right in front of the camera, they love that. Because that says, see, we're not racist, we're not bigots, even though they are. They can say, well, look at Tina over here, look at Mary over here, look at Bob. But they those people in that audience, when you talk to them, and I've talked to many black Republicans, I find them to be politically obtuse. They have no historical references at all that they rely on, and they're bought in by slogans. And they're bought in by the desire to be on the winning team. And I think, one of the other topics we're going to talk about later, Fox News, is responsible for a lot of these people. They've got the glamorous looking show model spokeswomen, and then they've got the actors on there in the evening that act all bombastic and angry and fly the flag with the graphics, and it sucks people up. And they think that they're watching news when they're watching nothing but 1,000% propaganda. And that attracts some black Americans.
And the whole thing is that Fox been lying out here. And in fact, I heard a guy was saying the other night, Fox is not even, Fox, what they are is just something that lead this certain pack of people, Other than the people that they got watching them and everything, they don't care, and what they tell the people. Look how they've been lying about this, like the election,
Well, this Dominion lawsuit, that has resulted in Fox talent, if you want to put it in quotation marks, because I don't see any talent lying every night, has had to, under oath, disclose what they really felt and knew, and more importantly, they had to convey what they put in writing in emails and texts forward to the Dominion lawyers, because they're suing them for defamation. And it's been revealing. We've seen where Laura Ingraham, Tucker Carlson, Sean Hannity, et cetera, have all said that Mike Lindemann is a nut. Powell, the attorney, is a nut. They're liars.
Yeah.
None of this is true. This is bananas. We don't believe it for a minute. We know that they're lying. And then in the next breath, they're on air saying that, yeah, Dominion has found plausible information to show that there were trickeration and malfeasance in the election.
Yeah.
They've got this evidence and we're going to bring it forward, and they've been stealing your election. Now, if you're at home and you're watching this and you live in Arizona where there was a close election, or you live here in Michigan, or you live in Wisconsin, and you see some of these states, that they barely lost, you can see why people would be up in arms and angry, because they think that their fundamental right, the most fundamental right you have as an American, is the right to vote, has been taken away from them. Well, first thing I say is welcome to our world. Because they do everything they can to suppress our vote year after year, decade after decade, after denying us the vote at all for the first, let's say,
100 years
about 190 years. About 190 years. So we're talking a very fundamental right that would make anyone angry if they saw that denied to them. But then when we look at the evidence of it, we see that the Fox people knew that Dominion had a strong, not only a strong case, a righteous case, that Fox had been lying about them, and they sued them for $1.6 billion. But that's not excluding punitive damages. And it's been a real earthquake at Fox News. One of the things we found out last week, Rupert Murdoch was compelled to testify under oath, and he said, look, when it came down to it, this wasn't a red or blue, Republican or Democratic issue. This was green. And if we don't give these people what they want, which they've come to expect from us, they'll go somewhere else, and it's going to cost us money. So he's selling out the democracy. He's selling out his own viewership for the greenback dollar. And it's become more and more apparent that Fox is lying to its constituency for profit. And even more interesting, Ahmad, is that we now see that board members at Fox, at the parent corporation, are looking at the potential damages here, because we're talking $1.6 billion Dominion is asking for in actual damage. The punitive damages could be 10 times that, 2 times that, 5 times that, whatever it is. It's going to be a huge amount of money, and it's looking, and you hear expert after expert, law professor after law professor come forth and say, this is the very definition of what we're talking about here when it comes to defamation, libel, and slander. This is it. And Fox is obviously guilty of it. So now you have a situation where these people are talking about this could take Fox News off the air. It could really end them as an entity that pollutes the airwaves every night with these lies, because this isn't their first lie.
Oh no,
this is the one that they've just been caught in, and it's been documented by someone who has the pockets, the wherewithal, and the determination to get their justice. And Dominion isn't going anywhere. Rupert Murdoch is now under pressure, because he's not, he's always discussed as the owner of Fox News. Well, he owns 40%. Actually, he owns 39%. 61% of the company is owned by members of the board and other investors. And if they look at the damage that Rupert Murdoch has done to that brand, it made it economically no longer viable. Not to mention the little credibility that they did have worldwide will be completely wiped away. They're going to look at Rupert Murdoch and say, you got to go. You got to go. You've ruined our company. You're gone. And we're also hearing rumors right now as we speak that the two brunettes on that show, Maria Bartoloma, I believe her name is, and
Yeah,
then there's
something like that.
then there's the one that used to be a judge. I forget her name, Janine Pirro,
Yeah,
and Sean Hannity
yeah,
are all rumored. It's only a rumor, but it's out there in the political ecosphere. They're all rumored to be gone. Sean Hannity. So you can see that they're taking this very seriously, and in desperation mode, they would be willing, more than willing, to throw those people overboard to try to keep the product viable.
mm-hmm.
And then you add on top of that, I didn't mean to cut you off, but you add on top of that Tucker Carlson,
Oh,
who's on
man.
there every night fomenting racial strife.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And it would be one of the best things ever to happen to America for Fox News to be eliminated. Now, that may open up the door for Newsmax and OAN and some of these other nuts to come forward and fill it up. But hopefully what we see is your average conservative, which I think that we need a left and a right in this country.
Oh, yeah.
We need conservatives, but we need conservatives who are authentic.
Right.
Not these people who are grifting and manipulating the working class whites for their own financial benefit and don't give a damn about them, don't legislate for them, don't do a thing for them other than use them for their voting base to get close enough to the Democratic majority to win an election or two. So hopefully this can straighten things out, and we can get back to the point where we have Republicans who have conservative ideology and will espouse their position based on that ideology without lying, without race baiting, without warmongering. If we could do that, we might have a better country.
Well, you know, we've talked about this a lot. You know, it's like, 35, 40, 45 years ago, Republicans. But one of the things that I respected was that they wasn't like the Republican we got now. We had people like the guy come from with one of his arm from Kansas.
Bob Dole.
Yeah.
Bob Dole.
And people like him. I didn't agree with what they were saying, but they wasn't like these people now in the Republican Party.
At least by degrees they weren't. They might have hinted at it.
Right.
Reagan. I regard Reagan as a racist.
Oh yeah.
But he didn't come out right there and in the style of Tucker Carlson come right out there and explicitly express his contempt for melanated people.
Yeah.
He hinted at it. The Cadillac Queen, the wink wink, the big buck over here.
Yeah,
we heard that.
Yeah, look where he got his start. I mean, where he announced he was running for president.
Yeah, Philadelphia, Mississippi.
Yeah.
Where the 3 civil rights workers were murdered and buried. Yeah, exactly. So we can see that the Republican Party for a long time has had a problem with non-white citizens of this country. But in recent years, man, I would say from the time Reagan was elected, it's by increments become more explicit and more in your face and worse. And then once Trump came into office, man, the gloves came off. I've been waiting on one of them to say the N-word. I think the only reason they don't is they have a few of what they would call the good colors within their circle, and they don't want to come out and be that explicit.
Right.
But they're damn close. They're damn close.
Yeah. We've had and we mentioned this another show, but all this killing, all of this killing and going on, and it just seems to me is that people keep saying, well, we don't have a place, we don't have this, we don't have that. I don't believe, and man, I'm just saying me. I don't believe that all these people out here doing this killing and going on has got some kind of a problem, And like I was saying about week before last, these two guys just pulled up in a car, jumped out, and started shooting people. Now, what What kind of sickness could that be?
Any number of things. The problem that we have is United States doesn't have more mental illness than any other country.
Okay.
I mean, you know, there are people who have schizophrenia, people who are neurotic, people who are bipolar. We have all these maladies that are worldwide.
Okay.
Maybe to a greater extent or lesser extent, depending on where you live and how involved the culture is with the day-to-day happiness and edification of its people. And we can have that argument. But the fact of the matter is you have mentally ill people everywhere.
Yeah.
But the right wing is quick to say anytime there's a mass shooting that it's just somebody out here who's mentally ill. It's not the guns.
Yeah.
The guns don't kill people. People kill people. I had a guy make that argue with me on social media not long ago. And I said, okay, well, tell me the last time you saw a mass murderer walk in with a butcher knife or a machete and kill 22 people in one spot, kill 58 people in one spot, kill 20, 18, 30, whatever the number is that they did with their hands or a garrote or a knife or a machete. It doesn't happen without a gun. And the fact that we have gun laws written and designed by the NRA, who was able to buy votes through legal bribery brought on by the Scalia court that said in Citizens United that political monetary donations are speech. And thus we can't limit free speech because to do that would be to take away the First Amendment right to guaranteed free speech. And if a corporation has more money than you, they just have more voices than you. But it's all fair. Everybody's got to say. But it's funny how they always talk about how the First Amendment is malleable and can be handed off to an inanimate item like a corporation. But when it comes to the Second Amendment, we can't touch that. We can't regulate that at all. We can't restrict that one little bit. It's no matter what type of guns are out here, what type of carnage takes place on the street, the answer from the right, we just, you know, it's just that's the beauty of the Second Amendment. And if we just had better health care, we wouldn't have these problems. Well, tell me, man. I mean, you mean to tell me we can regulate speech under the First Amendment in Florida and take books off the shelf? We could tell people what they can and cannot say according to DeSantis. He can say that about the First Amendment, Fourth Amendment, when it comes to your papers and property and your right to privacy. All that's negotiable. We can regulate that. But when it comes to guns, hands off. We can't have enough. I mean, and I've heard people say, well, why aren't bazookas legal? Why aren't Thompson submachine guns? Why can't we have anti-aircraft? I heard one guy say, well, we should because we've just legalized flamethrowers. I mean, it's madness, Ahmad. It's absolute madness. It from a sense of morality that should be instilled to you as a 1.5-year-old. You know how you can see a baby reach for a piece of candy or a piece of cookie or something and look at their parents and see if they're looking. Because already they've been told no. Not until you give them permission. So we have it within us to understand right from wrong. And you'll have people tell you that there is no problem with unabashed, unregulated access to guns.
Don't let anybody make you think that God chose America as his divine, messianic force to be a sort of policeman of the whole world. God has a way of standing before the nations with judgment, and it seems that I can hear God saying to America, you are too arrogant. If you don't change your ways, I will rise up and break the backbone of your power, and I'll place it in the hands of a nation that doesn't even know my name. Be still and know that I'm God.